Hey trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. That's how the video gets to the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you care. I hope y'all care. So share. And yes, please sound off in the comment section below. Alright, so trackies, I know I'm having some audio issues. I checked my mic, I checked my application, and everything is fine. Not sure what the problem is, but I've chalked this up to my laptop. So I'm going to be dashing it soon. This is probably my third/fourth laptop in 3 years. So yeah, I'm going to be rectifying that issue soon. So I do apologize for the poor audio quality. That being said, trackies, I really want to dive into some amazingness, and that is Brian Lavelle and the possibilities for him in 2025 at the World Championships, and how him missing that men's 100-meter team for Jamaica at our national senior championships ended up being an absolute blessing in disguise, because I can vividly remember being, at the national championships and, charting the athletes that looked good. And Brian Lavelle was a sure shot for that men's 100 meters. However, that was not the case at the end of the day. There was a massive delay, and I believe the athletes were affected. Brian Lavelle, I believe, was affected most of all. I'm not saying that any other athlete was not affected. I do believe everybody was affected. But of course, Brian Lavelle, being one of the youngest in the field, if not the youngest, right, was affected the most. And as such, track is finished, down the pack, well down the pack, outside of any kind of trajectory, you thought he would have been able to run at that particular time. However, since then, Brian Lavelle ran a massive personal best, 9.82 seconds in the men's 100 meters. At the time, that made him the second fastest athlete in the world. No, he's the third fastest athlete in the world with that performance. But still, it started to bring back a lot of thoughts and opinions as it relates to potentially what would have happened at the National Senior Championships if that delay did not happen. And also, what if Brian Lavelle tries to head off to those final two Diamond Leagues and see if he can rack up enough points as possible, and then hope and pray that some athletes do not turn up for the Diamond League finals, make it to the Diamond League finals, run the race, win, and then get a spot for, that men's 100 meters, so that Jamaica can have four athletes, competing in the men's 100 meters. Well, Chackies, hear what? I'm here to tell you all that Brian Lavelle not competing in that 100 meters is a blessing for Team Jamaica, and his shot of actually medaling in the 200 meters, and not just medaling, but going for gold, it's a strong possibility that he can stand atop in that men's 200 meters in 2025. Now, I know some of y'all are going to go crazy and say, no, T, that's not possible. Yeah. But I'm just going to bring up some stats and tell y'all what it means for high class athletes to run 2 rounds of racing. I'm talking about 100 meters, 200 meters. And by the time you get to 200 meters, do they run their best race? So I'm going to compare three of the best athletes out there, you would say. I have Noah Lyles, Let's See Little Boho, and of course, Kenny Benett. And I'm going to talk about what these athletes have done in the years that they've doubled versus the years that they have not doubled, right? So I want to start with a Noah Lyles, right? So pretty much he has been doubling, I believe, from 2023, if I'm not mistaken, right? However, when you look at the stats for Noah Lyles and his fastest performances in the years that he has doubled, you will see that it never happened at a championship. So it didn't happen at the World Championships in 2023, and it didn't happen at the Olympic Games in 2024. Do you know where Noah Lyles ran his fastest times in 2023 and 2024? Well, he did a one-off Diamond League in 2023, running his fastest 200-meter race, 19.47 seconds. And of course, in 2024, he ran that 19.53 at the USA Track and Field Championships. Now, I know some of y'all are going to say, but isn't that after, running 3 rounds of the 100 meters, then to run another 2 rounds into the finals for the men's 200 meters? Now, I know some of y'all may think that the USA Track and Field Championships is the end all be all, but I have some news for y'all, right? Competing at the Olympic Games / the World Championships is a completely different level of competition. So yeah, your round management is not the same, right? And then also, We all know Eugene. Eugene is one of the fastest tracks in the world, if not the fastest. The only track I'll probably rate a tad, and that's just a tip higher than it, is probably Beijing. Beijing for me is probably A1, the fastest track in the world, right? But Eugene is right behind it, right? And I've always had this thought process when it comes to Eugene. Now, some people may, disagree, but I've always thought that the actual performances get better the longer the distance, right? So I've watched what happens over the 100 meters, and sometimes, yes, you may get a really super fast time. But you see, as the distances go up, the 200 meters, the 400 meters, you get into 800s, you get into, 15s, and so forth. You start to see some really ridiculous times, drop on the track. I remember in 2023 when they had the Diamond League finals being held at the, Eugene track. I remember there were so many records being shattered. We're talking about world records. We're talking about national records, personal best, records on top of records on top of records were shattered at that Diamond League finals, right? That came up in 2023. So yeah, as far as I was concerned, and it happened for the most part, as I was saying, track is for the longer distances. The longer the distance is, the better the performances happened for Eugene. So, as far as I'm concerned, right, when it comes to that 200 meters, yeah, the performances get better, right, as the distance goes up. No, y'all can disagree. That is okay. That's just my opinion, right? So, he ran at the USA Track and Field Championships 19.53 seconds. That was his fastest time in 2020, for. Now, some of y'all may say he wasn't able to run as fast because he was suffering from COVID, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Y'all don't know what other athletes are going through as well when they're at championships as well. So we're not going to put that into the conversation. But I wanted to highlight that though, for Noah Lyles, right? When he ran his fastest time ever, the 19.31 seconds at an actual championships in 2022, same Eugene, guess what track is? He did not double. There was no doubling for him for this particular year. So he was able to go out and run ridiculously fast, fresh legs, 19.31 seconds. Crazy fast. I believe that makes him the second or tied, second fastest American, or is it tied with Michael Johnson? I think it's the same time as Michael Johnson's 19.31. So this should be the actual American record, right? So really, really crazy fast time that he was able to lay down when he was only running that one event. And mind you, let's just be clear. When it comes to Noah Lyles, over the years of progression, he has gotten much better from a technical perspective, but yet you can see that he's not able to match those times because guess what? When it comes to running championships, right, running those rounds, 3 in the 100 meters and then another 3 in the 200 meters, you get tired. You have tired legs and you're not able to pull off your best performance in that 200-meter finals. So that's just Noah Lyles, right? Let's jump on over to Let's See Little Boho. Now, he doesn't really have much to go off because he's still very young, right? Was still running as a junior athlete all the way in 2022, right? So pretty young. So I'm going to take his stats from 2023. Now, for Let's See Little Boho, things get very, very interesting. And he's actually the athlete that I have my eye on the most when it comes to the possibilities for Brian Lavelle in 2025. No, for him, 2023, he comes out, runs his fastest race at the London Diamond League. So it didn't happen at the World Championships, happened at the London Diamond League, 19.50 seconds. However, in 2024, right? After running the rounds of the 100 meters and also getting all the way to the finals of the men's 200 meters, ran his fastest time, 19.46 seconds track is, right, to win gold in the men's 200 meters at that particular event. So, the only athlete that has shown that they can run their fastest right after running rounds is actually Let's See Little Boho. But I have a different thought when it comes to possibly taking down Let's See Little Boho, and I'll get into that as the video continues. So as things stand right now, he's the only athlete of the three that has shown that even after those rounds, and I believe even in the 100 meters at the Paris Olympic Games, he ran a personal best in the men's 100 meters, right? So really great round running for Let's Little Boho, right? So jumping into the final athlete that I want to cover, and that is of course a Kenny Benett. Again, he's an athlete that I believed only started to do the double in 2024. So he only has 1 year of doing the double. And he didn't run his fastest 200-meter race at the Olympic Games in Paris. No, that came at the Diamond League in Zurich, right? 19.57 seconds. And interestingly, if you go back and check, his history, go back to 2021, 2022, he was actually able to run his fastest 200-meter times at the championships, the Olympic Games, the World Championships. That is where his fastest performances came. However, the moment, in my opinion, he started to do the double, you realize that the double on his legs, not able to pull off the fastest performance of the season, right, at the actual championships. He can do it in a one-off race, sure, but when it comes to those 3 rounds in the 100 and also 3 in the 200, yeah, you get really, really tired, after that. So it makes things very, very interesting for our young Brian Lavelle now that is coming up in this, 200 meters, because now he's ranked the third fastest athlete in the world in that 200 meters, 19.69 seconds, and also the third fastest Jamaican ever, might I add. He is crazy fast. But now you're looking at it and you're saying, Brian Lavelle doesn't have those extra rounds. Now he's still young, still developing. Think about it. Going to a major championships and being able to navigate round by round and in the finals, run your fastest race is an amazing feat in and of itself, right? And it doesn't matter what event you're competing in, just being able to get to the finals and run your best is an amazing feat because that's a championship, right? And being able to execute round by round and deliver in the finals is something amazing. So when you take into consideration the fact that a Brian Lavelle doesn't have to worry about an additional 3 rounds in the men's 100 meters, it makes him extremely fresh so that he can go out in that men's 200 meters and run his absolute best race after 3 rounds, which majority of the athletes, as I've pointed out to you all, have not been able to manage that feat at a championships if they are doing the double, which everybody that I talked about on the list is doing the double. Now, let's talk about Letsile Toboho, right? This season so far has run a 19.76 seconds, right? No, you can never count out a Letsile Toboho. But in my humble opinion, this isn't Let's See Little Boho of 2024, even Let's See Little Boho of 2023. Though, as I said, very young there, very underdeveloped, but definitely not Let's See Little Boho of 2024. So we can see that the injury, concerns have affected him in 2024, making him significantly slower this year than, again, 2024, which means that if he's not at his absolute best, right, heading into the championship, 3 rounds in the 100 meters, 3 rounds in the 200 meters, what kind of time will he be able to run, right? And will Brian Lavelle be able to one up that performance and run his fastest? So far his fastest is 19.69. Would he be able to go significantly faster? Well, maybe not significantly faster. Maybe go 19.6 low, maybe high 19.5s, and make sure that he secures that gold in the men's 200 meters on fresher legs, unlike what the other men do. I think he absolutely has a shot. And I'm excited to see what he does in that 200 meters at the World Championships coming up in Tokyo. All right, so trackies, those are my thoughts when it comes to the men's 200 meters. Brian Lavelle, the possibility of him landing gold in that event. So far, none of the athletes have looked their absolute best as they've done in previous years in 2025. And on top of that, all these athletes as well are doing the double. Does that give Brian Lavelle the perfect opportunity to stroll in and snatch gold? Let me know your thoughts, trackies. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.